Right now, I'm challenging myself to see if I can make 128 Regulation H teams that are each different from one another over the course of 128 days. Why 128, you might ask? At the end of the 128 days, we're going to do something special where we battle every team against each other in a single elimination bracket to see which team emerges on top. There will be some competitively strong teams, there will be some gimmick teams, and there will be some probably a good number of goofs and gaffs in there, so if you want to follow through to the end, subscribe so that you can keep up with each day. But without further ado, let's move on to day 16. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video, and in today's video, we are going to be teaching our Pokemon that they are simply not up to the task, and the task that we are handing them is rather intimidating because we want our Pokemon to be intimidated, if you can follow the logic there. But it's easier if we explain the pieces on this team rather than the overall concept so that you kind of get how it works. Starting off with Milotic, we have the competitive ability, and competitive is a great ability if your opponent has a lot of intimidators that can lower your attack, because competitive will cause you to increase your special attack by 2 stages, which means that you double your special attack. So because we are a special attacker, the attack drop doesn't affect us at all, so it is an absolutely 100% free boost. And on our Milotic, we have a rather bulky set, but we have enough speed in order to just be fast enough to outspeed most of the threats that we would have. But on our Milotic, we have the Muddy Water, which is good stab spread water type damage, and we also have the Ice Beam, which helps us cover for grass types whenever we want to use our Terra Dragon to resist them. And we also have the Draining Kiss to hit other dragons, and it also gives us a bit more staying power on the field, especially whenever there's something like a Dark type or a Dragon type, because we can get 75% of the damage that we dealt back as health. And if we double our special attack using the next Pokemon that we have to talk about, we're going to be on the field for a very long time. And with leftovers, we can even further increase that staying power, and we can also protect to get an extra leftovers turn in case we need an extra turn to also set up the rest of the strategy. Speaking of the rest of the strategy, we have Weirdeer, who is a very critical component here. Now, Weirdeer was not very good when it was introduced, mostly because most people just tried to use it for the Trick Room component, and whenever Weirdeer was introduced, it was all the way back in Reg D, where we already had Pokemon like the Paradoxes and some specific legendaries that can't have their abilities changed using the move Skill Swap, which swaps abilities between Pokemon. But now that we're in Regulation H, there is a lot more abilities that can be swapped using Skill Swap, which is phenomenal for Weirdeer. Because what we can do with our Intimidate ability is that we come in, intimidate the opponent, and then we skill swap away our Intimidate in order to make it so that Milotic gets the boost from its competitive ability. Weirdeer also has other good supporting things like the Thunder Wave to try and make the opposing Pokemon slower, and we have the Light Screen. Since we already have the Intimidate, we can afford to run the Light Screen to give us a little bit more special bulk to give further support to everything on the team. And we also have the Psychic Noise to make it just in case there's any niche scenarios where a Pokemon's trying to heal using leftovers or outstall us in some kind of way. We can just Psychic Noise them and they won't be able to heal for 2 turns. As well as we have the Covert Cloak so that we're not getting faked out since we don't have any real form of priority negation on this team. And we have the Terra Dark just in case for some niche reason we need to avoid a Prankster Taunt. Next up we have Mabostiff, who, if I'm being honest, there are better Pokemon in this slot than Mabostiff. However, Mabostiff is currently our only guard dog Pokemon because we don't have Okidogi. I realized that we could have just put King Gambit in this spot, because King Gambit has Defiant, which would pretty much do the same thing. However, I think this is the only time that I can warrant using Mabostiff, so we're going to give Mabostiff its time in the spotlight. But our Mabostiff set is going to be Lash Out for whenever we have a stat drop. The Lash Out is going to be able to double the power of our Lash Out into 150. It doesn't work with the Intimidate strategy though, since Guard Dog doesn't actually cause your attack to be lowered, it just gives you an attack boost. However, we can catch stray things like stray Icy Winds or stray Snarls that would also work with the Lash Out, and it's not super uncommon for there to be like Breaking Swipe, but that's not like super preferred. But we also have the Snarl because this is going to be our main way around getting around things like Indeedee, Armor Rouge, Trick Room, and
those sort of things, because we have a lot of speed components on this team. So Mabostiff is hopefully going to be able to snarl those down. And we also have the taunt in case we need to taunt like an Among Us or something to keep us from falling asleep. And that's also why we have the safety goggles, is because we need to beat Among Us somehow. Next up, we have the return of Tauros Blaze form, and our Tauros Blaze form is another Intimidator, so if we lead Weirdeer and Tauros, we can have 2 Intimidates go off at the same time, and we can use Weirdeer's skill swap into Tauros to reactivate both of the Intimidates at the same time, so we can have a Pokemon all the way down at -4 attack after turn 1, which is pretty nice. And our Tauros set is not very speedy, but it is a bit bulkier, and we are still able to hit relatively pretty hard. We have our signature move, Raging Bull, but we also have the close combat this time because we're a bit bulky, so we can probably get out 2 close combats, but it's much more important for us to have that fighting type coverage on this team. And we have the single target Rock Tomb for making things a lot slower. And we have the Mirror Herb in case we come up against a Defiant Pokemon. Ideally, we want to copy its attack boost, because whenever a Defiant Pokemon gets intimidated, its attack goes down 1 stage, but then it goes up 2, so you get a net of 1 stage. However, when Tauros Mirror Herbs the boost, it gets a full +2, which is pretty neat. And we can also copy things like Volcarona going for Quiver Dance, or we could copy Dondozo getting the Dondozo boost. So yeah, a lot of applications for Mirror Herb. Next up, we have the Kilowattrel, who I realized that I wanted Tailwind control on this team, and Kilowattrel fits the theme perfectly because Kilowattrel has the competitive ability as well, so we can also use it in conjunction with Weirdeer and the skill swap. It's just that Kilowattrel is faster than Weirdeer. I made Milotic's speed exactly 1 slower than the fastest Weirdeer that I could get. Same for Tauros, except I don't think Tauros actually matters that much. I just wanted to have more bulk on Tauros, but there's probably some situations where it's not good to be speed tying with your Milotic. But on our Kilowattrel, we have the Volt Switch, which is going to be our main electric type damage move, but also a good pivot in case we don't want Kilowattrel on the field right at the start. And we also have the Air Slash, which is good flying type damage. We have the Tailwind for speed control, and we have the Focus Sash so that we can always guarantee to at least take 1 hit. And lastly, since we were running Tailwind, I thought I would slap on Brambleghast just for a little bit of fun. The Ghost coverage is very nice to have because Brambleghast now has Poltergeist, which means that it has a really strong physical Ghost move, and so many things in the formats are holding items because Booster Energy is not all that common since there's no Paradox Pokemon in the format. But also, if we can outspeed and KO things with the Poltergeist before they get a chance to like eat their berries or use their berries. I can't really think of any, I guess like White Herb. But we also have the Shadow Sneak for dealing good priority ghost type damage, and we have the Power Whip just to have grass coverage really. And with the Clear Amulet ability, if for whatever reason we need to use the skill swap with Weirdeer and use the Intimidate on ourselves during the turn, we're not going to be getting intimidated by the other Intimidators, so Brambleghast can have a lot more play with its Wind Rider ability, which will increase our attack whenever the Tailwind is set up, or we get hit by a Wind move, which is mostly just Heat Wave at this point, and Hurricane. Hurricane's also pretty important. But yeah, that's the entire gist of the team. Let's get into some battling. Okay, so this first battle is an open. All of these are open team sheet battles this time around, but this is a battle against an Indeedee, Armarouge, and Kingambit with the Clefable and Rillaboom and Amoonguss. Those are all the pieces. But it's really interesting that they have the Kingambit here because that's a Defiant Pokemon, which can make our Intimidate shenanigans a little strange. But the battle starts off and they lead Armarouge and Indeedee, which is good. I was really hoping that they would lead Armarouge and Indeedee because we have Mabostiff here. Tauros doesn't really like being here, so I decided to protect Tauros just in case. I could have close combated with Tauros if I really wanted to try and hit Indeedee for a lot here, but taking out Indeedee and them getting in Kingambit is not great, so we need Tauros in the back to deal with Kingambit more than likely. We go for the Snarl, we get the special attack drop on Armarouge, and they try to go for the Expanding Force with Armarouge, and they get up the Trick Room with Indeedee. I just decided to sacrifice Tauros here because I really did not think they would go for the Expanding Force, but we just keep snarling down the Armarouge, and they're all the way down at half special attack, and now we can get in Milotic, and they bring in Rillaboom to counter. We protect Milotic, so that we're not getting hit by the Armorer's expanding force, and we can lash out the Armorer's, which takes out one of their very important Trick Room pieces. So now the Trick Room is working for us, I think, more than it's working for them. We bring in Weirder so that we can get an Intimidate on the Rillaboom, and we go Terra Dragon on Milotic to resist the incoming Grassy Glide, as the Clefable goes for Cosmic Power, which I did not realize. It was like a Cosmic Power Stored Power Clefable set at the time, but the Clefable is unaware, which will come into play here in a sec. Ice Beam into the Rillaboom just to get some damage into it. And as we see on this next turn, Milotic is going to protect us so as not to get hit. Rillaboom goes for Fake Out, not really understanding how Fake Out works, but if it decided to U-turn into Milotic or anything like that, it probably wouldn't have changed much since it has the attack drop right now. We get the light screen up with Weirder just for a little bit of safety for the thing that Weirder is about to do. We do get Grassy Glided crit though, which is kind of annoying, but we skill swap our Intimidate onto Clefable so that Milotic gets its competitive activated, and now Weirder is unaware. And we do crit the Clefable here, but I guess it's a fair exchange for crits, even though the crit that we did on them is less important in the grand scheme of things. And you'll see why on this next screen, because they're still spamming Cosmic Power, but we are about to... They do Grassy Glide Milotic, but we skill swap Milotic, so now Milotic is unaware, and Milotic gets to ignore the defense drops on, or the defense boost on Clefable. And we're also ignoring the attack drop right now, but we're also Terra Dragon, so that doesn't really matter. They bring back in Indeedee, and Indeedee gets up the Psychic Terrain, but at this point, the game's just kind of over, because we can just have Milotic Muddy Water into everything, and with the ×2 special attack, even Rillaboom's not taking that too well. And Indeedee misses the Psychic into Weirder, which is rather unfortunate for them. And the opponent hard quits after that game, so the strategy is effective. Alright, this battle is against a pretty interesting Hydreigon team here. They've got Indeedee and Goldengo, so that Goldengo can get set up while Indeedee distracts, but they also have the Sneasler, who I believe was red card at the time. But they also have the Choice Scarf, Last Respects, Basket Legion in the back, so we have to be careful about how we play into that. They lead Goldango and Indeedee, and I lead Kilowattrel Tauros, thinking that they might lead Hydreigon, but they decided to lead Goldango instead. And instead of getting up the Tailwind here, I just decide to Volt Switch and attack into Indeedee, as the opponent uses their Terra Dragon here, thinking that I might have decided to Raging Bull and Volt Switch into the Goldango, maybe picking up a KO. But thankfully, instead, we actually Mirror Herb the boost from the Goldango, but it doesn't matter because we're not a special attacker. As close combat brings Indeedee down to 1 health, which is a tad bit annoying. And I remember that instance where I said that it might matter whether or not Milotic and Tauros are speed tying. Well, it matters here because if Tauros was slower than Indeedee, it means that we could just close combat into Goldango, and I think they Trick Roomed, not expecting Tauros to be as slow as it is, considering that it is slower than the Goldango. I have Tauros Protect just because I think it's going to get attacked into, as I try to get a Muddy Water to attack both, mostly just wanting to clear the Indeedee off the field. But with that nasty plot, since I know that Milotic and Tauros are the same speed, the Goldango is also speed tied with us. Because the Goldango moved before Milotic. I decided to swap out Tauros because I really don't want to take the special attack buff, and Mabosstiff catches the Shadow Ball, which is pretty nice, even though it takes a Spit F drop, as we Ice Beam into Goldango to do some damage into it, and they Dark Pulse into Milotic, trying to deal some damage in Milotic. Lash Out is going to be able to pick up KO into Goldango, which is very important for Mabosstiff, as we Dreading Kiss away most of the Hydreigon's health, as Mabosstiff unfortunately has to go down to the Hydreigon. But now we can bring back in Kilowattrel as we take out the Hydreigon very safely, and we Volt Switch into the Basket Legion in order to get Kilowattrel out of there. Since this is Choice Scarf, it's currently slower than us inside of Trick Room, but that allows me to bring in Tauros pretty safely to see what they want to do, because they either have to Last Respects or Wave Crash, depending on who they want to take out. And they just decided to Last Respects, so we get to bring in Kilowattrel here, and they Last Respects into Kilowattrel, but Kilowattrel's Sash, and Kilowattrel gets to end the game with Volt Switch.
Second game here, the opponent decides to do the same lead, and I figure that if they're going to do the same lead, that I'm going to get off the strategy this time. So I decide to lead Milotic and Weirdeer, and I skill swap the Indeedee so that the Indeedee intimidates us, and they don't tear their Goldango to Dragon, which is pretty nice. As we get the attack drop, which activates our special attack boost, and the Goldango gets a special attack boost and an accuracy drop, as we do more than half to it with the Muddy Water, which is pretty nice. Goldango protects, not quite sure why, but we get up our light screen as we Muddy Water into the Indeedee to try and take it out, and Milotic gets even more of its health back as Murkrow hits the field, and I half expected Murkrow to haze to just cut the losses of the accuracy drop on the Goldango. However, Murkrow just decides to Tailwind and Shadow Ball into Milotic for the Goldango, which gives us a special defense drop, but the special defense drop gives us a special attack boost. So, yeah, we full on just get to Muddy Water, and I also take the Murkrow's Prankster before it leaves, so now we have a Prankster Weirdeer, who they bring in Basculegion here, they go Terra Grass, I protect Milotic, thinking that it might be the one attacked, but we get our Prankster Reflect here inside the Tailwind, so we get to be faster than the Choice Scarf Basculegion, which is pretty nice. With our Reflect Up and these being their only 2 Pokemon, and they just locked in Wave Crash with their Choice Scarf, I feel pretty safe with Milotic ending the game. We also have Mabostiff in the back, and Mabostiff is kinda able to handle what happens next. Draining Kiss doesn't take out Murkrow, which is a bit of a pain, and we do crit the Lash Out on the Basculegion, but the opponent forfeits because we can just snarl with Mabostiff, and they don't really have a way to break through Mabostiff right now. Okay, the opponent has Intimidate in the form of Arcanine, and they also have Sand in the form of Tyranitar. Their Garchomp isn't Clear Amulet though, but their Arcanine is Choice Band. Not entirely sure we have an easy way around a lot of this, because I want to lead Weirdeer for the Intimidate, but the Amoonguss really does scare me. I think we lead Weirdeer, and Tauros is kind of slow. I don't think it's going to be able to handle the Earthquake great. I think we lead Weirdeer and Kilowattrel, and then in the back, let's have Tauros and Milotic. They lead Tyranitar and Corviknight. Oh, Corviknight's Mirror Armor. That, I mean, it kind of works against us. We are at least Assault Vest, and the Corviknight is Terra Flying, so we could just Volt Switch into it pretty easily. Tyranitar is currently intimidated, so I'm not super worried about it, but a knockoff would be kind of not great. Let's swap in Tauros and Volt Switch Corviknight here, because we'll get another Intimidate off. They do Intimidate us back though. Okay, and in swaps Amoonguss. We can do what? I guess we can bring in Weirdeer. So now Tyranitar its attack is basically nothing. They might Terra Water here. So I'm going to see if they Terra, and I'm going to Psychic Noise the Amoonguss. And they decided to bring in Garchomp, and they do Terra Water Amoonguss. Okay. Psychic Noise into Amoonguss, and they do try to Sport Tauros. Our attack is currently down right now though, and it doesn't benefit them to go for Earthquake, because Amoonguss is right there, even though Amoonguss could protect. I think I'm just gonna close combat the Amoonguss and side skill swap the Tauros. Okay, Amoonguss protects, and they do Earthquake. That's bad for us. We can at least Volt Switch the Amoonguss, but now the Garchomp just has free range to go for Swords Dance. With it being Sandveil, this is in a really awkward spot. They did Terra though. I think the Terra could be... let's Volt Switch the Amoonguss. No, I think I have to predict Amoonguss doesn't do something here. Let's Tailwind and Psychic Noise Amoonguss. Okay, they brought in Tyranitar as Kilowattrel protects, so I wish I did switch in Milotic there. Tyranitar's immune, and Weirdeer goes down to the sand. Now we get in Milotic, but it's a little too late for that. So we are in Tailwind, so Garchomp is pressured into Air Slash and try to Muddy Water. Because them swapping in Amoonguss here to resist the water would be good for them. Yeah, they swap in Amoonguss. We Air Slash Tyranitar, and we Muddy Water. That's just not doing enough damage. Critical hit Kilowattrel. Okay, so we get Thrash because they did a lot of really good switching, and also Corviknight kept us from successfully intimidating down the Garchomp. So the way that I should play this one out differently, I think, is by getting Milotic up as fast as possible. So let's lead Milotic and Weirdeer, and then have Tauros and Kilowatt. Actually, wait. What saves me the most is like Bramblegast inside Tailwind. So what if we did Milotic, Weirdeer, and Kilowatt while Bramblegast in the back? This time they need Corviknight, Amoonguss. We could just go for the Ice Beam and try to get as much damage as possible, because now we have Bramblegast in the back and Kilowattrel who can hit the Amoonguss more effectively. So I think I'm okay with clicking Muddy Water here and getting the skill swap into Amoonguss, because that'll take its regenerator, and I could have gone for Ice Beam here. But we went for the Muddy Water instead. That does good damage into Corviknight. They taunt Weirdeer, and they Spore Amoonguss. Okay. But if we can get Milotic to wake up fast enough, then we'll be in a good enough spot to win this game, perhaps. This is a little very tricky whenever Amoonguss wants to do the things that I don't want it to do. Swap in Garchomp now. We Psychic Noise. Amoonguss takes damage. Milotic's still asleep, and they Spore Weirdeer. Now we can Ice Beam, and could just swap in Kilowattrel, because we need Weirdeer to leave so that we can have the Intimidate safety net. So I'm going to swap in Bramblegast here, as they swap in Corviknight. Garchomp Swords Dance. Milotic gets the first turn wake up though. Let's go, Milotic. Now Tyranitar is on the field. Well, we can Muddy Water, and we can swap in Weirdeer, because it'll at least attack drop the Tyranitar. Corviknight we don't care so much about, because we can hopefully get the good roll on Muddy Water. But if Tyranitar is going to be stuck on the field here, I'd rather have Weirdeer's Intimidate on it, even if we get intimidated ourselves. Muddy Water comes out, we get the good roll on Corviknight and some good damage into Tyranitar as they knock off into Milotic, which does get rid of our leftovers. They haven't used their Terra yet, and how do we lose? We lose on if we miss the Power Whip on Tyranitar, is how we lose. So I think I'm just going to keep Muddy Watering, and I don't want Weirdeer to catch a knockoff. Let's swap in Kilowattrel. Okay, they Terra Water Amoonguss. They're still resisting us. Any accuracy drops? Accuracy on Amoonguss, at least. Rock type damage into Kilowattrel, and they Spore Milotic again, which I'm fine with that. And Tyranitar is Assault Vest. It might live the Volt Switch. But we can Volt Switch again into Weirdeer as we try to get Milotic to wake up. So I'm fine. Okay, they Rage Powder with Amoonguss, so we can Volt Switch into Weirdeer, who we don't really care about. As what does Tyranitar do? Tyranitar successfully Rock Slides into Milotic. And okay, opponent understands that game tier was lost. Okay, so we got a bit lucky there because we got the one turn wake up on Milotic. But I think I have the counter, which is leading Milotic Weirdeer again, and having Kilowattrel, and who's the more important one? I think it's Bramblegast, because Bramblegast is Clear Amulet. Let's try that. Okay, in this match they lead Primarina and Amoonguss. This time I have the idea that I can... I guess I should Ice Beam into Amoonguss, and we're going to side Thunderwave Milotic so that Milotic can't fall asleep. They do Moonblast into Milotic, and they get special attack drop, but that gives us a special attack boost as we Ice Beam Amoonguss for a good bit of damage, and they Spore into Weirdeer. Okay. So what would be least expected right now? I guess Muddy Water would be least expected. Weirdeer's gonna have to take its guaranteed sleep turns. Protect Stalling is kind of less good right now, because if we Protect Stall into a Para though, anyways, we need to get as much damage as we can. I think I'm just gonna go for the Ice Beam into Amoonguss and leave Weirdeer on the field. Okay, Amoonguss protects this turn, and Primarina goes for the Moonblast, and they give us another special attack boost. Unfortunately, it goes into a Protect. Let's protect ourselves this turn, and go for the Light Screen with Weirdeer, see if we can. Okay, they bring in Arcanine. Oh, Arcanine's not Intimidate, it's Rockhead. It's heckin' fast, though. That's a problem. Yeah, they're They're just gonna head smash into the Milotic now. I don't think I can win this game without Milotic. I think I have to double swap here. Because I need to intimidate down the Arcanine. They're gonna Wild Charge Kilowattrel. And the Hyper Voice, which will take out Kilowattrel. But now we can bring in Weirdeer. We at least get an attack drop on the Arcanine. Depends how fast Arcanine is, though. We could skill swap away the Rockhead, but I think that's not a great idea. Let's Thunder Wave into Arcanine. It just locked into Wild Charge, so Brambleghast is kind of unaffected. We could just go for the Terra Ghost and then Poltergeist into Primarina to take it out. I think I'm okay with that. You go for the Terra Ghost. Primarina protects, though, which is rather annoying. Okay, we need to save Weirdeer, but the problem is Amoonguss can put Brambleghast to sleep now. We're gonna Light Screen, and we're gonna Poltergeist the Amoonguss. Okay, Amoonguss goes Terra Water, but we got a Light Screen. Poltergeist comes out into Amoonguss, and Amoonguss lives that? Are you serious? That's Terra Ghost! I hate Amoonguss. This Pokemon's so dumb. Well, now I think we just lose because we're gonna get put to sleep for forever. If I had Poltergeisted into Garchomp, would that outcome have been any better? I don't think so. Bring in Arcanine. They go for the Earthquake and they kill their own Arcanine. We Psychic Noise into Garchomp, which means that it's blocked from healing. As I guess this forces Milotic onto the field. I guess they wanted a free swap to Primarina here, but we're gonna die to the Garchomp's Earthquake unless the Garchomp protects. I think I have to go that they misplay here, and I'm going to Thunder Wave Primarina, and I speed the Garchomp. I Dragon Claw, and Milotic doesn't live, so we die. And we missed the Thunder Wave on Weirder. Not that it matters at this point. Yeah, the opponent played that one really well with their switches. I think Terra Ghosting the Brambleghast was a little uncalled for, as I could have just Power Whipped into the Primarina, but I mean the Primarina protected anyways. Maybe I should have actually read the Primarina protecting because I had Brambleghast on the field, because I didn't really think about the Grass type damage at all. I was just like, let me get that good Ghost type damage, but the Ghost type damage, if we KO'd Amoonguss, would have been so much better, and if we weren't a pure Ghost type, then Amoonguss would not have been able to put us to sleep. So I definitely think in that last battle, my mistake was going for the Terra Ghost too early with Brambleghast without getting Amoonguss out of the way first. Not such a bad set, though. Okay, here we have the return of Amoonguss, but they have rain. Lots of rain, and lots of monkeys, and VGC cats, and money mans. So what beats all of these? I think Kilowattrel Tauros is not a bad lead. They are Terra Grass or Caledon. Actually, I know Brambleghast kind of messed us up in that last one, but I think Brambleghast has a lot of potential here as a lead. And with Kilowattrel, and we'll have Tauros, and Weirdeer only intimidates Rillaboom and Incineroar. Theoretically, we deal with. Nah, not so much with Brambleghast, but yeah, with Tauros. I think I gotta leave my Milotic in the last one. They are Electroshot with our Caledon, though. Okay. The opponent leads Goldango and Amoonguss. So, if they don't want Goldango to die, they have to redirect since they're leftovers. And I think I'm fine this turn full on pressuring down the Amoonguss. Let's go Terra Ghost, Poltergeist, and actually I forget. Let's just Poltergeist and Talon with Kilowattrel. They go Terra Steel Goldango. So we redirect and we get the boost. Poltergeist lands into Amoonguss and does that much damage to it as the opponent nasty plots. Okay, that's good for us. Because now we can Poltergeist the Goldango. And I'm okay air slashing into Amoonguss because even if it does go Terra Water, I think it will still die. Goldango protects. We air slash Amoonguss. And Poltergeist would have come out into Goldango. And now Pelipper is here. And what the heck is Pelipper gonna do? I mean, are they gambling on us missing the Poltergeist, I guess? Because Pelipper's Hurricane, so I can't really hurt Brambleghast. So I feel pretty fine going for the Poltergeist, and I really want to make sure I KO the Goldango this turn. I'm just going to Volt Switch the Goldango, make sure that we can pick up a reasonable KO into it. Let's bring in my Milotic, we Poltergeist the Goldango, and it dies, and they set up their own Tailwind. Okay. Now they're our Caledon.
So they could just choose to Electroshock. I really don't think they can take out Brambleghast this turn, though, because their strongest move into it is Snarl. So I think it's beneficial for me to go Poltergeist into our Caledon. It looks kind of not great at this point, so I'm just going to try to get Draining Kiss. Actually, let's Poltergeist our Caledon, and let's get Ice Beam damage into Pelipper. They Hurricane Brambleghast, but Brambleghast is Windrider, so we don't care about that. As they do Electroshot, and they Electroshot into Milotic, which takes it out. But now we're +2 on Brambleghast, and Brambleghast lands it into our Caledon, dealing massive damage. But now our Tailwind has run out. So we can bring in Kilowattrel, and then they have to double Kilowattrel. Would Terraghost... Terraghost is what lost me that before. Let's go Terraghost Shadow Sneak. Actually, what if we could just Protect. They could Snarl and Weather Ball Pelipper, though. I feel like that might KO. Or just Dragon Pulse into Brambleghast. I'm going to Terraghost and Shadow Sneak the Pelipper, actually. And set up Tailwind. And hopefully this play doesn't go terribly wrong. Okay, we take out Pelipper, so we're good. Even if they do Dragon Pulse, which Brambleghast lives it, but we get to Tailwind, and we get to activate our Windrider again. Which means that we can Super Shadow Sneak and Volt Switch the Arcaladon. And we're good for game 1. Okay, since Brambleghast was such an important piece, I'd imagine they'd have to bring in Incineroar to start the game. Especially to keep Kilowattrel from setting up Tailwind. So if we think they're going to start Incineroar, then I'm going to start Amoonguss. And Weirdeer? Yeah, and Weirdeer. And we'll have who in the back to save us? I guess Brambleghast and Kilowattrel. They do lead Amoonguss, but they also lead Goldango. Which is not what we wanted to see. Okay, well, I guess we're going to Muddy Water with Milotic, and I really don't want Milotic falling asleep, so we're going to side Thunder Wave Milotic. Amoonguss goes for Rage Powder. Ooh, a strange choice there. We at least get the Muddy Water. Accuracy drop with the Amoonguss. Let's Protect and set up a Light Screen with Weirdeer. Actually, who moved? Oh, they Terra Steel with Goldango, so they're probably going to attack this turn. Amoonguss gets paralyzed, but it was Rage Powdering. And Weirdeer does not take it. Goldango's only ×1 special attack now, so let's bring in Kilowattrel. And a Terra Steel means we can Ice Beam and Air Slash into that slot, and we'll still have Tailwind for next turn. Oh, they swap in Pelipper. And we missed the Air Slash, gosh darn it. Goldango's getting set up, but now with Water up? The Pelipper can Wide Guard though. Pelipper Wide Guarding would be the most unfortunate thing. I mean, if I Tailwind and Muddy Water, they can't Tailwind themselves, so I'm going to Muddy Water and Tailwind. I swap back into Amoonguss. Well, we get up our Tailwind, and we get off Muddy Water. Can we get an Accuracy drop? We get Accuracy drop on both, let's go! They do hit Milotic, but Kilowattrel's Sash, and then Goldango's special attack falls, but now we're good to just keep spamming Muddy Water, and we can click Air Slash into Amoonguss. Ooh, actually, that might not do enough. Oh, my Milotic didn't do enough. Oh, but the Amoonguss is paralyzed, thank goodness. Okay, we kind of got it. We got outed there. Muddy Water and Volt Switch Amoonguss. Because I at least want Brambleghast to get the attack boost on this one turn. However, it might... I don't know what's safer, actually. To make sure Goldango dies. Okay, well, we get to Volt Switch the Pelipper, which means that Brambleghast comes in. And single target Muddy Water takes out Goldango, which is good. We have one turn of Tailwind left for Amoonguss and our Caledon. Okay. So let's Ice Beam into Amoonguss, which should KO it, and... should we just rip the Terraghost Poltergeist? Because we can? I'm really not confident that the, I'm not confident that the Ice Beam will KO Amoonguss, because this Amoonguss seems like it's special bulk invested. And if they take out Brambleghast this turn, I can't afford for Brambleghast to go down here. So I'm going to protect Brambleghast this turn. Ice Beam Amoonguss, and Amoonguss does live. And the Electroshot Milotic. But now we bring Kilowattrel, and the rain has ended. We saw that it lived the +1 Dragon Pulse before that Brambleghast. So I'm going to Volt Switch to make sure we KO Amoonguss, and I'm going to Terraghost Poltergeist the Arcaladon. Amoonguss is paralyzed, but it tries the Rage Powder, but that's not important. Electroshock comes out, and our Caledon's on a charge turn because we're no longer in rain. I think the opponent forgot that one. Yep, they definitely forgot because they are leaving. Well, fair enough to you. Alright, well, that was the Intimidate Yourself team. I hope you at least understand the basics of how this strategy works. I do want to add that there is an item called the Adrenaline Orb, which makes it so that your speed is increased by 1 stage whenever you get intimidated, and that was a pretty popular strategy with Milotic, because you would get this 2 times special attack boost and the speed boost, so that you would outspeed most things. However, Adrenaline Orb, I just really couldn't argue running it, as I really wanted to keep my Milotic on the field for longer, and I didn't value the speed as much. But maybe if you run this team, you'll value the speed, so I just wanted to throw that in there at the end. And if I'm being honest, I'm not too attached to this team. Like, I do think there are some good pairs, like the Milotic Weird Deer, and the Tauros Paldean, and the Kilowattrel and the Bramblegast. Sorry, Mabostif, but I think the team could overall use a little bit more optimization. But that's going to be it for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, maybe consider leaving a like on the video, and even consider subscribing, because both of those things help me out an absolute ton. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much.